a convergence, right, of CeFi and DeFi, and I think like there's people tend to be in one camp or the other, and I think that there's room to sort of bring those markets together more, like bring traditional assets that are off chain on chain, and bring the user base who's very culturally stuck to DeFi, which I totally get, but like it's better to have more deeper types of users in DeFi so it grows, right? If you're only doing like the really hardcore bleeding edge stuff, then you're not going to get the masses that really move over to DeFi.
Welcome to the ATX DAO podcast, the hub for exploring the forefront of blockchain technology and Austin's Web3 community. Your hosts, Nick, Mason, Luke, and Ash, connect you with innovators within ATX DAO and beyond as we venture into the world of decentralized technology. So crack open a beer and join us for a front row seat to learn about the innovations and trends shaping our digital future. This is the ATX DAO podcast. Welcome to the ATX DAO podcast. We are very excited today to welcome a very special guest. We have Ian from Shift Markets. Ian, welcome to the show, man.
Thank you very much. Great to be here.
I got to ask, you see, you're coming at this from, we were talking about this a little bit before, right? When we walked in about the forex stuff and your approach to come in is kind of similar to the way all of us are. We came from TradFi backgrounds and then we got into DeFi, but you're building a TradFi product and now transitioning it to a DeFi customer base, right? How was that? Did you ever think, dude, holy fucking shit, I'm going to build a product for these guys? Or was it was that even in the thing? Or is how did you find yourself here? I'm just curious.
It took a while to really merge the two. The culture is pretty different. We came from FX, right? So very London buttoned up crowd, banks and stuff like that. We were the electronic guys in that space. So I started the company in my apartment with a couple other guys. We were it was pretty raw, right? We were coming into this space and we were the young guys in the space, right? And we were doing the electronic side of things, pricing retail. And this is very, very different from FX proper, right? Where you have these British banks and, big Wall Street firms basically dominating the culture of FX. So this sort of online phenomenon happened. And this is kind of like what's happening now with all the things that are going on with GameStop and whatever, and crypto and all that. But this was back in 2010 era, right? And things were going mobile. It was just the beginning. It was the same theme, but earlier and just a little bit different. Oh. And what was cool is this was FX was the first market you could trade 24/7. Well, not 24/7, 24/5, but you could trade it all night long and kind of speculate as you saw fit. And it felt like there's no one's really pushing their thumb on the scale, right? Because you got big currencies that are harder to move around, right? So you can trade euro, yen, whatever you want to trade. You can do that all night long with 100, 200x leverage. So that was exciting for people. And that's kind of what we were coming in, bringing into FX. And the bankers didn't love that, right? So we were already a little bit different culture very different culture, really, from the more proper sort of banking side of FX. And then we started to kind of really go down that route. And then when crypto came along, it was just a natural evolution for us. Oh, you can settle on the internet too. On the internet sounds so crazy now, but back then, trading on online 24/7 was still, it wasn't new, but it was definitely getting faster and cooler and more on your phone and all that stuff. And then once crypto came about, it was okay, now you can settle. That's really cool. And we pivoted full stop over to that. We kept the old business running, but the R&D and sales and marketing was all towards crypto.
Wow. So were you part of that? I know London was also kind of infamous for that, the flash crash for high frequency trading, right? That Indian dude who is sitting in his, I forget what it is. You know what I'm talking about, right? Oh, dude, this is super famous. This dude, or super infamous, right? I think it's super famous because I'm yo, what a fucking chat, right? This dude who was I think that what he was doing is that he was sitting in some suburb of London and he was doing high frequency trading, and then he broke a fucking market. He nearly crippled an entire bank. Basically doing this. This was the period of the 2000s or something like that. And then they all came in hard trying to figure out who the fuck this guy was, because he made off like a bandit. And this is just when high frequency trading systems were getting implemented. So I'm guessing this was that precursor period to what you guys brought in and thrived on, I'm guessing.
Yeah, there was a lot of like fear in what was going on with the electronic side because like electronic trading was taking over what humans did, right? And now the volume's all basically electronic, and you saw these like flash crashes and these things that scared people, right? And like, and you know, it was like, is this going to destroy finance? And I think that's what people were worried about. So yeah, different times, and it's fun to see how things change over time. And that was, but like we've seen. Yeah, I think the biggest thing that happened with us with FX was when the Swiss franc depegged from the euro. They basically just stopped defending the price, and everyone just like freaked out. It wiped out a whole bunch of brokers in the space and stuff like that. So that was one of the big days in FX in the last like say 10, 15 years.
Shit. Also, there was that infamous Soros trade, right, where he basically made Bank of England like kind of like. What was it? Take a knee to base. I forget what it was.
The peg. They were defending the peg, and he broke it. And it's that was one of the more famous stories too.
Yeah. But it is awesome that like it seems like this whole thread of like characteristics where you're trying to push the risk parameters. You're wanting people to do 24/7. You're 24/5, right? And you're wanting people to be like, hey guys, like we're using tech to our advantage to create hyper efficient markets. And like this is a market that like now can be with crypto like reach the masses. Yeah. So I can see like like looking back, it's like you can see these like clear threads that are connected to each other. That's pretty cool for you to like fucking see that pretty early though.
It wasn't all purposeful, right? We were just kind of there. I mean, I think for anyone that wants to start anything, it's just you got to just start, and like you start to see this stuff. You see it really clearly when like you got to pay your bills when it first start off, and like you just kind of learn like so we just like quit our jobs and just dove right in. And I don't know if it's the smartest thing to do necessarily.
Sounds like the Chad moves to me. Yo, that's fucking dope. I'll drink to that, guys.
But you definitely learn like what impacts you really quickly. But that was you can see those threads of like this sort of cultural takeover of finance in a way. And kind of what you see now, crypto almost like there's just people want change, and like people are tired of this stuff. And there's like there's a big difference between the haves and the have-nots, and you got a lot of people like the younger generations now that can't buy houses and things like that. They're going to go in hard. They're going to look for things that move the needle because they're not seeing it where they could see in some of the more traditional stuff. Yeah. So that's kind of, and they want to see cultural change. They want to see all this stuff, and I think it's gonna. I mean, I was so surprised that some of the things that have happened in crypto have already happened. Like it's gotten a lot further than retail FX. So retail FX was basically banned in 2010 by Dodd-Frank.
Oh wow!
So we started the company in 2009, 2010. They basically wiped out the industry. They moved it to London and Cyprus. So we were like, okay, it's time to learn international Skype calls and marketing and sales. So that's what we did. But like they basically the CME and the futures guys had a stranglehold on. It was at the time a Chicago-based president, and you had like the Chicago Mercantile Exchange and all the futures industry did not like retail FX, right? So they're like, get this thing out of here, and they did, and there was not much resistance to it. Crypto though, it survived, and it's cool to see that happen because I was like, it felt deflating the first time when like something that I thought was really cool was going to change finance just got kicked out. Yeah. This time though, you see the politics, and you're like, even like this week, right? The Democrats kind of turned around and voted for something that.
It is kind of crazy to see like crypto is now a voting block.
Yeah.
Right. Like you have to like appease to this whole contingent of like people that are like these new money people. And it's like we have this like huge investment in tech and libertarian values. Yeah. And it's across state lines and party lines, right? Like your personal philosophies are fine, but like on a tech level, like you're like, guys, you're trying to chokehold us. This is a dick fucking move, and we will leave. Yeah. And it's awesome to see that happen. It's also like interesting that you cite the whole idea that the CME being like, yo, you need to get this shit off. Get out of here. Is that why you moved to London? Because you're an American originally, right?
I'm American. I live in New York, but we basically 100% of our sales and marketing efforts had to be outside our own country. So it's like you're sitting in New York, but like you had all these brokers all over New York, like over 100, and within like 2 years you had like 3, right? Because they just kicked everybody out. everyone that stayed was all had to run their business overseas, right? So you had people that stayed around, but it was like basically destroyed the industry. So it's like, and then like Cyprus, if you go to Cyprus, you see the banners for FX, and it's like a crazy, like, why did this happen? But it's because the US just kicked it to the curb, right? And they gave it to them, which, okay. But they didn't like the threat of this new product taking over the futures industry, because the futures was where people traded leverage, right? And if you wanted to trade leverage, you had to trade futures. And they didn't like this new product coming about to threaten that. It was an interesting evolution, but it didn't die. Like, that industry is still strong, and like a lot of the futures companies, like your Refcos and these other companies, went out of business. And crypto's has the defense, has the political backing now. I think it's gonna make it. Like, I doubted that for so long. Having seen what happened, like seeing how powerful Wall Street is and some of the banking sector. And this is a threat, right? And there's still unclear what's going to happen. But every time a few more months go by and something moves the needle, it tends to be kind of pro crypto. It works out that way, despite the SEC and what they're doing right now, which is it looks almost crazy.
Yeah, it seems like Gensler is taking a hard left turn from his days at MIT. And I saw this meme where he's like, hey, I'm sure it's on crypto Twitter and every fucking Twitter. It's like basically he's just sitting in his house that's burning down. And he's like, everything's fine, guys. Crypto's fine. I got the regulation, dude. Don't worry. And I'm like, yes, it is. But, it's rare that you see this future, this Merkle tree of possibilities, right?
Yeah.
You've seen a future where this whole asset class and this industry has been basically like kneecapped, and it's like, you're persona non grata here, get the fuck out, right? And you're forced to go to London and Cyprus to do this. And now here comes this tech stack where it's like, guys, if we poured it onto this tech stack, we're fucking golden. We can like basically capture all the people that we wanted to and do business where, in one of the biggest retail markets in the world, which is kind of crazy, right? That's awesome that it's coming through and it's coming together. I guess, like, in a way, is this like why crypto as like a service technology is like unique for you guys? Is it like you guys just saw ahead of the curve, or is it like, no, other people are also seeing this now, but like we are the first ones to try and go implement this? Like,
we were pot committed. We had the FX infrastructure already, so we were like, we're in electronic trading. We're offering these products, and we have a business, and we knew crypto was going to be big. So it's like, let's just stay the course, right? Because the first crypto winter was brutal, right? You saw there's a big swing up with the ICOs and Bitcoin new highs in 2017, 2018.
Yeah.
And then it was a pretty dismal looking crypto winter after that, like the early COVID era.
Yeah.
Enterprises that might want to offer crypto someday. Because at the time, like 2019, 2020, like it wasn't really clear that large financial institutions would get into the space. It was still like, is this going to happen? Like, it's funny to see how just a few years, right? You see every major financial institution almost has gotten into crypto at this point.
Yeah.
At some level, right? Like,
yes.
Maybe not the banks, but like all the brokerages and all BlackRock. I mean, who else? Once you get knocked on those dominoes, it's pretty much a done deal.
Yeah.
Now today, the second ETF in the US gets approved. So awesome. Yeah, we didn't know that was going to happen. We definitely thought that was kind of the only way to go.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it is kind of wild.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. And I was going to ask just more about the crypto as a service in general. Like, kind of how did you all like identify the need for that as an option for folks?
I mean, for us, it's more like it's a business opportunity based product. So like, we're basically making it easy for someone to get into a space. So we're entrepreneurs ourselves. Like the concept is, you can build all your own tech stack if you want. It's going to take quite a while. It's going to be expensive. And you're going to go through all these landmines and mistakes. And they could be very costly, sort of game over mistakes, when you're dealing with like money on the internet.
Right.
If you do something wrong, it's bad. They're really, really bad.
Yeah.
So we're like, look, this is going to fast track you to running a venue in the space. And a lot of people want to be in the space, but they don't know how, right?
Yeah.
And think all across the world, there's still lots of places you can't really access with crypto, even with fiat.
Right.
And we're starting to fight in that fight by giving the tech to these people that want to create these businesses. So, we do that for the entrepreneurs. When we do it, we also do it for the bigger companies. So like we would love, and I think the industry loves when a big company with like millions and millions of users starts to give crypto to their users, right? It just makes the asset class more popular. So we kind of service that whole sort of swath of sizes of users, but it's basically the idea is just here's all the tools you need, and if you want to be in crypto, you don't need a lot of like hardcore tech expertise.
Yeah,
you can use this product and just give it a go.
Yeah, so that's more of like, it makes it more of a strategy decision for them versus having to invest in the tech and all of that kind of thing.
People like to own the tech, and it's like people always say that it's cool, it sounds good, but like maintaining code and the updates that goes on in an active space like this is super expensive, right? Yeah. And not just that, like the protocols you need to put in place for employees to like on their computers and what keys and all this stuff. Mm-hmm. It just, when you really think through everything, it's hard and it's expensive, right? So for us, it's like, look, you don't own, what do you really own? Like you own code, but then can you maintain it? Can you upgrade it? Do you have 30, 40 developers to keep improving the tech? Probably not. Yeah. So it's just, for us, it's like, just look at the two options. We think as one's a clear way to go, and one's much more expensive. And if you have the capital to do that, great. But if you don't, or maybe even if you do, still might be a better option just to go with like a tested product.
Yeah, that's great.
I got to ask the question from a founder's perspective too. Like you mentioned that, hey, you and your founders, you're a co-founder and you're like one of the founders of this company. Like, how are you guys all ex-traders? Are you guys from dev backgrounds, math backgrounds, like trading backgrounds? What's the deal there?
I worked at an FX broker. So I went to the University of Michigan, computer science major.
You're Wolverine, I guess.
Wolverine, yeah. And I graduated at a time and like, so I was in the 90s. So I'm that age, right?
You're in the golden era of mom and dad jeans, bro. Yeah. That's the legendary era, dude. Yeah. And like, what was it? High fashion wraparound glasses. That's the neon, bro. Those are the fucking good times, bro.
So like, if you can think like what it might have been like in the .com era, if you're not that old, right? It was the same kind of excitement. Mm-hmm. Like, and at that time I was in college doing computer science. Oh, wow. So I was like, you can kind of imagine like my senior like classmates were getting these jobs and going out to Silicon Valley and whatnot. Yeah. And it was like, oh, cool. And then the 2000 hits, the bubble's over. Then 9/11 happens, and like no one's hiring anybody. Yeah. And that's when I graduated. Wow. So like I told my landlord, like, oh, don't worry about it. I'm a computer science major. I thought that, I was young and naive, right? And he was like, what, you fix computers? Pay the rent.
I don't care how you do it, bro. Magic internet money does not fucking exist yet.
Right. Yeah. So yeah, I was a little naive to that. So I got into like sales and finance and stuff, and went through telecom and was in the mortgage industry during that whole fiasco.
Oh wow!
For a bit, and then I got into the broker that I worked at for FX, and that was like it was like the leader in like online FX brokerage. FXEM is the name of it. And like it was a good place to get started. They basically recruited like 20 people at a time. It was very sort of organized and stuff, and like half of them got whacked after a couple months, and you just get your teeth cut really quickly. Yeah. And I met one of the co-founders there, and then the other guy came from consulting background, and it was just we're like, hey, let's just try this, and we just kind of quit our jobs one day and like, let's give it a go.
That's fucking awesome, man. I love this whole idea of this organic nature of like how you find people and then gravitate to it's the same kind of like risk attitudes to do something. There is something really weird, but like there's a whole chemistry like that happens there, right? Because it's like you guys have built this company in a very like volatile asset product that, well, not volatile, but like it's a product that moves very fucking fast.
Yeah.
Right. And it's a product that like you're also like, oh, great, it's going to be overseas. Right. And you found each other and then you built this and now here you are. I mean, the shift has been around for a while. Right. So yeah, it's fucking awesome, dude.
Yeah. We've been through the ups and downs. We started in 2009 and then with the FX stuff, and we didn't raise capital, right? We just bootstrapped the whole thing. So we did consulting. We did basically whatever. We had so many ideas and we went through so many iterations of like different concepts, especially early on, just like what works, what can we stick here, and we landed on a few things, and we sort of slowly cut that down and pared that down. But when you just start off, you don't know, right? You're trying to find what really works, and you just, when you have all day to think about it, you eventually do. You figure it out. But yeah, that's the history that we had. It's been fun. It's been rough at times, but definitely been fun.
Yeah, that is awesome. Wait, so is all the co-founders sitting in New York? Is it 3 y'all? Like,
so we actually had 3 co-founders. One got poached by Citadel. We did a project by Citadel with Citadel. They poached the guy.
Oh shit!
And that was that. If you can imagine, when you do like a business,
funnily, Citadel, one of the sponsors of our podcast, Ken Griffin, Kenny boy, you're a little bit late on your fucking sponsorship checks, you douchebag. Lord knows you owe us some fucking money. But still, we're shouting you out, Citadel. Good fellas. But dick move for stealing Ian's fucking co-founder in the past.
Yeah. That was a fiasco, to say the least. Because it was a co-founder. It's almost like a marriage, right? Like at that point. And you have, that was also, we were doing work for them at the time. So it was complicated. But we got another, it was a friend of mine that had worked with me with FXDM. He came in to be our CTO, and he's a partner now. So it was a good transition there. And ultimately, it all worked out for the better. But definitely some drama throughout those days.
Yeah, but that's awesome though, right? Like, because I feel like those kinds of things, I feel like the universe puts you in the places you're really meant to be to like grow and evolve beyond. I really think there's like this Zen approach towards things, because like so far from what I've seen and like the many failures and a few wins that I've had in my entrepreneurial journey is just like, holy shit, like, like each one of these things will give you a lesson that carries on to the next thing. You just have to put in the work, right? You have to be disciplined. Funnily, we were talking about this earlier in another podcast, right? We were talking about like, what's the best advice that startups could get? It's like, be disciplined. It's not going to be fucking awesome every single day, but you have to come in and put the work in. If you do that, you're going to find your way and it's going to be awesome, right? But you got to be disciplined about doing that. And that's the connective chain, right? That's the connective chain of the universe, putting everything in the right place.
Yeah. No, I think that characteristic you just have to have is that grit. You just got to hold on. Like you got to believe in, and when you believe, it makes you able to hold on, so that's why it's important to find something that you believe and about, because that lets you hold on longer, right, than the next guy. And if you can do that and weather those sort of down markets and those like bad times, then you can, like you said, you come out stronger. So I recommend that to any entrepreneur. You just got to get through it. Unfortunately, you're going to have it. It's going to happen, at some point. Hopefully not. Some people, it works out very, very well, but the statistics are what they are. Yeah. So.
Statistics are that you're going to probably go the way of the restaurant, like, and Uber Eats is going to fucking roll over your ass. But like the reality is, hey, you're going to be smarter and wiser for it, right? I got to ask though about the proprietary, aspect of like your white label crypto exchange, right? Like, how does software work for a client there? Like, I know that you're trying to now go into this retail consumer aspect of it as well, but like, how would this work? Like, what are we looking at? If you're a suit or if you're a hoodie and flip flops guy, like, how does this work?
Yeah, so there's a bunch of components, right? You put into it the software. It's like when you're running a crypto exchange, there's matching engine, there's order management, there's wallets, there's all this stuff that goes into all that. You don't need to learn every single component, right? We learned it all. Like we know how it works. We build it. We put it all together. We allow people can sub in different wallets and things. They can customize it how they want. What's cool too is like it's a web-based platform, so you can edit it and make it look your own no matter what. So it's any web developer who knows how to work with platforms, or even just a basic web developer, can make it look very, very different than like our template. So a lot of our clients don't look anything like each other. So all the sort of nuts and bolts are the same, because ultimately you're still processing trades and managing balances and like doing accounting and routing orders to different places. But you can let the client do what they want personality wise. If you want to offer your own token or whatever, we have clients doing that. Just like you said, a guy in a hoodie with a cool idea. Or if you're a big, payment company and you want to offer crypto to your user base, that works too. We can make it so like their app looks and feels just like their app now, and they just push the crypto button and it still looks like their app, but it's really us behind the scenes. So that's the idea. It just makes it really easy to get into the space, and that's really what we're trying to do. Is just if you don't be too intimidated by all this stuff. If you just start talking to people about the space. We usually guide people to different providers if they need help with different things, and we just make it easy. If you want to be in crypto, you want to be in the trading side of crypto, you have users, you want to do anything with wallets or trading or anything like that, give us a call. We'll talk to you about it and help you out.
That's cool. What kind of users do you usually find that do that? Like what kind of organizations want to have their own exchange and that type of thing typically?
So it's like financial institutions. So if you're not offering crypto, this is what we're saying to honestly like kind of scare some people in a way. Yeah. And we do it for real reasons. Like if you're offering all other financial products and not crypto, you're losing users, right? You're losing Gen Z for sure.
Yeah.
If you're trading FX or stocks or whatever, you probably have a Coinbase account too. If you're in the US, and if you're not, you probably have a Binance account, right? So those people. If you're Gen Z, you probably have one of those two things, or maybe some other crypto exchange. Now they're offering so all these exchanges now are moving towards derivatives, right? So like Coinbase has just launched derivatives.
Yeah.
They did it because people want to do day trading. I mean, yes, they want to buy and hold, and that's cool, but that's boring. It's what you should do, but if you want to speculate with some money and do derivatives, that's what that's kind of where the money is if you're offering the product. So we just launched derivatives on our platform. So we're going to FX brokers and saying, hey, look, you're offering FX, you're offering gold, you're not offering crypto. What is you guys really need to get up to speed with this stuff.
Yeah.
And what we do is, we give them the spot platform so people can do deposits and withdrawals, and we give them the derivatives so they can, offer that to their derivatives trading user base. And that's really like a big trend for us right now is helping these sort of TradFi companies adopt this new asset class. Because a lot of people want to trade crypto, but they don't feel comfortable with maybe Coinbase or Binance for whatever reason, or they're very regional. There's different marketing. It's all kind of the same product, but just like cars, like everyone has their flavor of like their brand or their color or whatever. Yeah. It's kind of the same thing with financial service providers. Like they have different angles on how they educate the users or do service with the users or whatever they're going to do. So that's one big thing. And then the other thing we're working on is people are already in crypto that want to add derivatives. Just because if you're an exchange in say like Mexico or Dubai or whatever, you don't have derivatives, you're basically taking a lot of deposits and you're just protecting them for the user. The user's not really trading them that much. They're holding Bitcoin or ETH and they just kind of sit there. And like you're basically just a wallet for them. Yeah. So we're saying, guys, like if you're a business and you're in that space, offer both. Offer both types of clients. Like, yes, take the investors who want to buy and hold, and then offer the product that makes you money. Right? Yeah. And that's kind of what we're saying too, because the people want to day trade. They do it with like disposable income. Yeah. Right. It's like a degen type thing. Yeah. You want to double your money and whatever, you can trade derivatives. That's kind of the way people go. Yeah. And like there's an appetite for that. They're not putting their whole net worth in it, but they take a couple $100 a month, whatever it is, and they throw it at like just high spec type stuff.
Very cool. Have y'all had any application of it with like Web3 gaming at all? Because I know there's a lot of like apps out there that they have a game, they have like different tokenomics, they have different tokens they need to trade. And sometimes they like to have it integrated in their own app as opposed to going to like a DEX or something like that. Have y'all had anyone take advantage of it in that sense? Or
yeah, like if you have your own token and you want to build a marketplace for that. So like we have a network of exchanges that might be able to get you listed on that network. So just to get liquidity. And then like there's still a lot of money off of Web3, right? So you have to get it on the Web3 first. Yeah. So you do want to get those users one way or another. So we can kind of help with that if you're in the Web3 space. So we're launching a Web3 product as well. But I think for any existing gaming or DeFi or anything like that wants to get more money from off-chain, you could look at like these CeFi solutions that just help bridge that money over from like CeFi to DeFi.
So you're telling me you're basically taking Trump and Bowden token into like Web2 institutional clients?
Exactly.
Are you telling me basically this guy, the CME, were like, yeah, we need to get Ian off fucking shores now? This fucking guy is the one who basically got BlackRock and Vanguard to allocate to Trump and Bowden via shift markets? Is this what's happening now?
Well, don't put it like that, but there's a convergence, right, of CeFi and DeFi, and I think like people tend to be in one camp or the other. And I think that there's room to sort of bring those markets together more. Like bring traditional assets that are off chain, on chain, and bring the user base who's very culturally stuck to DeFi, which I totally get. But like it's better to have more deeper types of users in DeFi so it grows, right? If you're only doing like the really hardcore bleeding edge stuff, then you're not going to get the masses that really move over to DeFi. And I think for DeFi to really move ahead and like get more laws, get more so they don't have problems later, get those more normies on the system a little bit, right? Yeah. So they care about it, because if you don't get more people caring about DeFi or Web3, then you're going to lose those political battles, right? Or whatever it is down the road. Yeah. So like for us, it's a tech. The tech is better. Like it's a cool experience to just click through your browser and put money in one place or another, or play a game and have your assets be in your wallet. Yeah. If you've never done that, like it's such a cool experience to go do your first Web3 thing, even though MetaMask is going to, or whatever, is going to pop up a bunch of like warnings and things like that, like you don't lose all your money. If you can get through that and like you see the money or whatever in the platform, you're like, oh wow, this is really, really cool. Like I still remember the first couple of times I did that, and it's like it's kind of when I loaded Google for the first time, you just see the results. Yeah. Like damn, like I can move money and like push buttons and then put money in this fund that pays me a return and trade stuff. Like it's totally different feel from DeFi or from a CeFi. You know, it's a really cool transition.
Yeah, I think that's a very valuable comment around the idea that, like, you know, you've seen this experience where you saw a retail user base that wasn't really hip to the fact of forex. And because of that, regulation became very fucking exchange to be like, get the fuck out of here.
Yeah.
And now your message is like, yo, get on your shit and like start using this stuff, because like this stuff, the more and I guess it's like a message to any kind of founder and protocol too, right? Evangelize and like reach out to like people that are normies and then get them to use your products or these asset classes, because that way it creates this entrenched group of people that are like, hey, now I'm hip to this whole idea. Definitely. And it makes regulation to be like, they're not going to like railroad you like they did you guys, which fucking sucks.
Yeah.
That's that's a big takeaway for me, to be honest. Like, I mean, it seems like a lot of these asset classes around DeFi, it seems like in a weird way is like getting further instrumentationalized, right? Yeah. We have derivatives and all this stuff. Yeah. There's this disconnect that occurs with retail, right? So it's kind of cool that you're like bridging this gap in a way. And we were talking about this earlier, right? Like having DeFi degens have the opportunity to like use the forex mechanism to go de-risk, but then also having other kind of exchanges that have not had this vehicle to be like, yo, you're fucking selling Toyotas, bro. Like this motherfucking thing, crypto, is a fucking Ferrari with a rocket engine, right? This is a volume-based business. You need to get in on this shit, and that you're giving them this vehicle to do so. I'm curious then, is some of the pools and some of the stuff that you're engineering, like trying to reach into these DeFi products? Are you imagining a world where like you would see like institutional level clients or like retail level, traditional finance clients, like gravitating into crypto and like moving stuff on Aave and Uniswap and doing, degen kind of stuff? I'm curious. Like, do you think that'll ever happen?
I think, well, you have the aging factor, right? So that will happen eventually. Yeah. I think, can we get more people, even in the younger ages, can we get them more on Web3? I think there's a couple big like user experience things that still have to happen for that. And there has to be a couple more attractive products over there. Gaming and DeFi are really cool. I think there's a lot of use cases for that. And like, that's enough for people, but the user experience just needs to be better, right? And like, I think, I don't think we're too far away from that. I think, but I still think a lot of this wave we've seen like this year is still a lot of people that were already in DeFi, already on Web3. I want to see, what I really want to see is like that next, like new people asking me about, like, those people that always text you or, hey, what's going on with Bitcoin or whatever.
Oh, like, yes. I got like 50 messages today, including a buddy of mine who was like a Morgan Stanley dude. He's like, hey, how about that crypto? I'm like, I told you not to fade it, you motherfucker. Like, I told you 2 streets across. I'm giving you the alpha. And he's like, yeah, we'd never touch that shit. Now I'm like, yo.
Right. Now they're back and asking what the next move is.
Yeah. Exactly. What's happening next? Is the Dogecoin thing real? Guys, is that a connected ETF? Like, yes. Yeah. But yeah.
Yeah. So I want to see more of that. I want to see that for DeFi stuff. Hey, what's this wallet? Like, what's this DeFi? Like, I want to see more because it is a really cool experience once you really do Web3 and like there's I just get even people in crypto that are not fully in Web3. They talk to me and they're like, yeah, I don't know if I want to put that much money on. It doesn't feel that the pop-ups and all the crazy stuff on the browser. I have to prove a certain amount of tokens coming out of my wallet, and I hear about these wallet drains and blah 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 blah. It's too scary still for like a lot of normies. And I think once I know there's like account abstraction coming in Ethereum and some other cool things that will make life easier to get that done, and maybe that's what it is that moves the needle. But I think once that happens, you're going to see better use cases on chain, and I think that's really going to move the needle for Web3 in general.
So my question then is like, what is your 100x like thing that moves the fucking chains or moves this ticker for you? Considering like you're now straddling this world where you're trying to get institutional clients and like retail level Web2 and TradFi clients and also DeFi clients to like use this pipeline, right? Like, what is the thing that you think would be like, hey, we need to get this one thing right. And I think if we just do this one fucking thing, like, bro, like, the flows are going to be insane. What do you think that'll be?
I mean, for us, and like because of our background, is FX. I mean, so FX, it's the largest market in the world, right? It's if you're not a major currency, you can't settle your currency very easily. So if I'm like a country with a currency that a bank doesn't want on my balance sheet, I don't get the ability to really trade with much. Mm-hmm. I can trade with the dollar with my local banks, but I don't have the biggest banks like doing prime brokerage for me and doing credit and all that stuff. Yeah. So it's hard for me as a user or company or whatever in that country with that currency to do really anything. They get crushed when they take that currency and try to get to the dollar, mm-hmm. right? Let alone if you're even neighboring countries like Argentina, Brazil, or whatever, like you have to go through the dollar for that stuff, yeah. right? And so that's a big problem. And then you have like there's no marketplace for the largest marketplace in the world, right? It's a fragmented market with all the different currencies, and it's controlled by the banks. And settlements, it's a 2-day settlement window for mm-hmm. something that should be it's money. You just trade it, right? Like yeah, it's silly, like how backwards like some of the tech is,
super
how old it is. Yeah. So what we want to do is like say, look, let's move all of that on chain, instant settlement, right? More or less, right? 24/7, real 24/7. Because some currencies you can only trade during that window, that 9 to 5 in that country, and you can only trade with the dollar. So all the products, not just the dollar, but trade with any currency, mm-hmm. right? So we think that could be like an API. Like if you're a fintech application that does payroll or anything to do with payments or money or anything like that, you should have an API where you just switch the money. Like that's what we want to eventually get to. Right now we're bringing FX derivatives on chain, and we want to do that to get the pricing and execution and liquidity and all that and order flow through there because that's going to be a faster path, mm-hmm. we think. And then we want to be able to basically say, guess what? Now that we have all the orders and we have all the liquidity, let's let you settle on whatever you want. Once the stable coins come out later. So there's stable coins still early. It's all dollars right now. There's not even the euro doesn't really have many options. I mean, Circle's got that going on a little bit. The market making isn't big yet, so mm-hmm. We think like for us, we want some of the DeFi stuff to be in the background, but still be on chain, right? And I think mm-hmm. that's kind of another way to get users instead of making them come to you, rebuild some of the stuff that makes life a lot easier for them using the sort of blockchain, right? Using Web3. So it's a Web3 in the background, but it's a fintech application in the front.
So like you think this one asset class could be like 1,000x for us? Basically, you're thinking like, yo, if we can create an LP, for example, for like, let's say the Japanese yen, right? Which I'm fucking pumped about this year, right? Personally. But like to, let's say, ETH. And you can move money through that, and that becomes an easy thing that can be integrated on a protocol level into like other DEXs and Borderlands. Like you're thinking like, holy shit, like this becomes like a pipeline into like real countries and real government banks, like like balance sheets.
Yeah, eventually. I think that if you can offer the ability, let's say we go to a bank in some emerging market country, and we say, look, what if we give you bank?
Sorry, forget the yen then. Like let's say the Nigerian naira or the lira. Like you're telling me that to like an ETH-based model to like Uniswap or something else that uses you guys as an intermediary would be like 1,000xer. Or you suspect that?
I think that it's a game changer for that market just as a whole. Like the cost of trading currency might be a large portion of some businesses' margin. Right. When you get to multiple percentage points. Right. And you're trading like something like commodities, which a lot of countries, especially emerging markets, trade. Like you start chewing through like FX fees on just that. You're starting to eat into a lot of profit. Right. And like maybe to a point where it's not even a sustainable business. So, but if you can make it to where you eliminate that friction, right, you can just basically say, I'm in some country and I want to basically export this to another country with emerging market or even non-emerging market and get that done quickly without counterparty risk. That's a game changer, right? So, and it's simple, but it's like powerful, right? Because like if you are trading with someone with like $100 million worth of Thai baht, like you're just going to have to worry about that, right? It's a big problem right now. So the cost of doing it, the timing and all that stuff. And if you're not in the top tier, right? So as you go down the food chain, it gets more and more expensive if you don't have any money to really get that stuff done.
Yeah. So is your then goal to like at Shift Markets to focus on markets that are like these emerging markets, like truly crypto emerging markets and also forex heavy markets? You find this like Venn diagram overlap and you're like, bro, this is where we need to be. Because like this is where we can capture Gen Z. They're having forex issues because of the stability of these markets, and they're also crypto native and they have a younger population. Is that what you are thinking, or like what do you?
So we want the DeFi native people to be able to put money in and invest in this idea. So we're going to make a pool that does that, and then the use cases that flow into that pool will be meant for normies, right? So like if you're already on DeFi and you want to earn a yield on your stable coins or whatever it might be. We give you a product, you put money into the pool, and we're going to bring to the pool these trade flows that come from these other markets, right? So they're not correlated to crypto anymore. There are things that you can put money into and earn a yield on the product through DeFi, but you don't need a crypto summer to get good yields, right? You can because in the crypto winters, treasuries were beating the yields on DeFi. It's not. So then what do? You take your money off chain and put it in no, right? Like you don't want to have to think about that.
Yes.
But if you have a TradFi product or a TradFi like product that doesn't correlate with Bitcoin and ETH and these other assets, and it's earning a yield because of like FX trading, oh, cool. I can keep my money on chain. I can earn a double-digit yield, and it's not correlated to all my other crypto stuff. And that's something you might want to do, especially when crypto is not doing well or whatever it might be. Especially if as finance evolves, these things get more like, the opportunities aren't going to be as clear, right? You're going to want to, and there's going to be more and more financial products on chain. It's going to just replace finance. Like you can invest in insurance funds and FX funds and all this other stuff. Yeah. So we want to be one of the first to do that with like the world's largest market, which is FX, but also change how that works for all the users. We want FX to be easy for all these people. Emerging markets has a bigger lift. But it's still powerful even in like the main markets. Like it's still hard today how do you just send money to someone in Japan now? It's not easy. It's not an easy thing to do. It's not as easy as you would think it should be anyway. So we want to simplify that along the way.
That's fucking awesome, man. That's really awesome. I guess my question is like, for someone who is typically our listeners are very crypto native, right? But there are people that are tuning in. Like my mom started listening to us. She doesn't like me swearing as much. Neither does my wife. But like, hey, it is what it is. But like that being said, how would you explain crypto to like people like my mom and my wife that way, and like why it should be the best thing? I know you've touched upon it, but like, super simple, succinct, like so that they would understand.
No, yeah, I mean, that's
and like, why would they use Shift to basically be that vehicle?
Well, for us, it's like anyone that gets on to this is good, right? We to use us, we're more on the B2B side of things, or if you're a DeFi investor and you want to look at this new pool we're creating, that's really cool too. If you're someone that's really new to crypto, what I would say is look, I mean, it's technology at the end of the day, right? And it's not, try not to tie it to the early adopters of Bitcoin who are one very extreme in one direction, right? Even if that might be your direction, that's cool. But like, don't necessarily tie the tech to these different things, right? And just look at it for what it is. It's instant. It's basically money on the internet, and everything else is moved online. Why wouldn't money? Yeah. It's been harder because people are sensitive about it. But like, you can buy books and clothes and all this other stuff online. It sounds crazy to say. It sounds so archaic to say. But why can't you move and move your money online? Why do you have to go to a bank and like let them hold your money and like deal and like tell you how to do different things? Like, why shouldn't that be really easy? So I think that's just ultimately, people generally value their personal freedom, and their personal freedom should be tied to their money too. And like, that's kind of the whole point with crypto. Like, you should be able to do what you want with your money. And if you agree with that, then you are pro crypto, right? And that's really what it is all about. There's different camps, yes, and that's cool, and those are fun and whatever. And they fight with each other a little too much sometimes, but ultimately everyone's kind of in the same boat, And I think the more people really understand that it's technology that makes the world better, faster, cooler, all that stuff, that's really what it is. And like, why are these people that are against it really against it? It's hard to really put a finger on that. I don't really know.
I feel like it's a good question for one of our sponsors at the SEC, Gary. Gary, why are you so angry at crypto, my friend? You seem to be a big proponent of the movement at MIT, but it is what it is. No, but I mean, I really appreciate that, because it's kind of hilarious to like converse this, right? Because they look at it and they're like, I don't know what the fuck you're doing, but it's like this magic internet money thing. Right. And they're like, I had an idea when you mentioned like Ethereum. And now, funnily, that we're building on Dogecoin, my mom's like, oh, I know kind of what you're doing. And I was like, yeah, I guess like we building on original blue chips was more like a faux pas. But like, now here we are, and she understands it. But it's always great to say, think about how do we explain these concepts to like people that are outside of our realm, especially considering you're trying to straddle both these worlds.
Yeah. One of the things I was thinking about as you were talking about that is basically helping folks think it's technology that allows you to hold your own cash, because you're not relying on somebody else to manage it for you. It's yours. You're the only one that can touch that. It's in a safe place. And it's just technology that makes that happen in today's environment versus keeping us safe at home, keeping it under your mattress, all that kind of thing.
Yeah. In a way, it's, if you know how to do it and you put the right guardrails around it, it's safer than that. Right. Like, because people can rob your home. People can, just things can happen. Your house can burn down. Like stuff like, yes, you can lose your keys and stuff like that too. But there's things you can do that make that more protected and give yourself more options. Right. Mm-hmm. And with a lot of money, right? Where you can, some people don't want to know, like, they don't necessarily want people to know where their money is and what they're doing with it all the time. Right. And for whatever reason that might be, but like it's a privacy related issue that if you believe in that's an important facet to this. Yeah,
absolutely. I know we're coming up on time here, but I got to ask you, like, how do people find you? Where's the best way to get a hold of you? Who do you want to talk to like really 100x your delivery of your product to consumers?
Well, thanks for asking. I mean, look, we're the technology company shiftmarkets.com. Right. That's where, if you're interested in the business side of it, like the trading side of it, check us out. Right. The FX initiative we're moving that on chain, is underneath. It's a different, for legal and regulatory reasons and all that, it's separated into Cables Finance. So cables.finance. And that's the new DeFi thing we're moving FX on chain. And they're tied together because like the trade flows are going to be coming from our clients at Shift to go into the pools we have at Cables. So love to talk about that to anyone who wants to talk about that, or if we can work with you in some way. That's really cool. I know this town has got a lot of crypto going on, so really appreciate the invite down here.
We'd love to have you back on here, and hit any kind of milestones you want to talk about. We'd be happy to show it here.
Yeah, very much appreciate it. Love the vibe here. Thanks for having me over here. It's been great. So yeah, I'd love to come back another time.
Fuck awesome. Yeah, man. Let's do it.
Thanks, Ian.
Yeah.
Thanks, Ash. Yeah.